This is a CBC podcast.
Well, this week, National Indigenous Peoples Day celebrated the heritage, diverse cultures, and outstanding achievements of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples across the country. And that includes Two-Spirited people. It's a term that many of us might not be familiar with. So, to explain it this morning, here's a conversation between interviewer Ivan J. White and his guest, Evan Butler, which first appeared on an episode of CBCNL's First Light Friday series.
So it may be that the more masculine people tend to take on certain roles, the more feminine people tend to take on different roles. And I, for myself, kind of lie somewhere in between.
Two-Spirit is a complex and often misunderstood term outside of Indigenous community. I sat down with Evan Butler to let him explain what it is to be two-spirited. So what does two-spirit mean?
That definition is probably a little bit different for a lot of different people, and the story that I had been told is basically back in the 90s, as a lot of sort of people around North America in particular, and Western people were starting to identify as gay, as lesbian, as bi, as trans, as whatnot, and that community was starting to grow, that there was concern that people who are Indigenous, that their way of identifying themselves or of expressing themselves would get sort of conflated or mixed up with this whole GLBT sort of growing rainbow community. And so a number of people had sort of met from different nations trying to figure out some sort of term that could be used to describe people from all of these different nations who might mean things, might have their own words, but needing some sort of term that could be broadly applied. And they came up with two-spirited, basically to describe people for whom, you know, and this is my understanding and how I sort of use it, is that everyone has, say, a masculine spirit or a feminine spirit, but these people would have both. And that they might express themselves in different ways. So you perhaps might be a little more feminine or a little more masculine, but that you have both spirits.
So we can sort of see that the English language fails with respect to this definition.
Any one language, of course, is going to fail when you try to, clump in a bunch of people who have different expressions of themselves. And again, English is a broadly used language and it's very flexible. So maybe it was the least worst in language to use because it is so common that if the term had come directly from, say, the Navajo Nation or from the Sioux Nation or from the Mi'kmaq Nation, that the word that nation used would also be too limited as well. So it's a compromise, and like any compromise, no one party sort of gets entirely what they want.
What does two-spirit mean to you specifically?
Despite the fact that I'm not really a spiritual person, or at least the way that I apply spirituality to myself is perhaps quite atypical. What it means for me, I guess, is a way of expressing who and what I am in a way that tells the person I'm sort of expressing to that I'm not a typical male, I'm not a typical female, I'm somewhere perhaps in between. That biologically I may be male and I may present as male, but that I have this strong feminine side that it's not just about getting in touch with my feminine side. That's not what it's about. This is simply about the fact that there are things about me that go beyond sort of mere biology, that aren't even encapsulated by sexuality, and that it's something that's, I guess, more ethereal, and therefore for me I ascribe it to sort of a spirituality of this sort of expression of being.
How does two-spirit similar or different from notions of gender and sexual orientation then? Well,
gender and sexual orientation are very much their own sort of little categories, and sort of, gender is very much sort of in the brain, and it sometimes is associated with biology, and for other people, it's the biological part of it is where it sort of falls apart, and they need to assess that in themselves and find ways of reorienting their physical body. Whereas sexual orientation is very much, I guess, in the heart. I mean, you might want to say of that as sort of the person or the people that you're drawn to, and you romantically or sexually or whatnot, and so that's more about how you connect connect to another person or other people. Two-spirited, at least for me, and again, other people will perhaps give you a different take on this, is it's more about me. This is me as an individual expressing who I am and sort of being situated somewhere in different roles within a community.
How does this perspective inform your day-to-day?
In the same way, I guess, that anybody's sort of personal identity or way of expressing themselves affects their day-to-day life. Sometimes it's going to be a conscious thing where you choose what to wear or how to do yourself up in the day, how you're going to act, how you're going to speak or behave. And sometimes, of course, that's very much a sub or even unconscious sort of thing. So for me, there are days when I wake up and for whatever reason, I'm feeling more masculine, or other days I am feeling more feminine. And that may change throughout the day or even at a moment's notice, or it may be as a response to the people I'm with. So typically, who I'm with will sometimes bring out different sort of aspects of myself, whether that's a social thing or a work thing or whatnot. And so it informs all of my behavior and all of my self-expression. For anybody who's sort of curious about what two-spirited is or what it means, is to try not to make any assumptions. When you're looking at somebody and you've been told or you hear or you think that they're two-spirited, is maybe ask them politely, of course, what that means for them, and try simply to not make any assumptions one way or the other.
And that was Ivan J. White speaking with Evan Butler.
Hi, my name is Boss Bennett from Nain, Labrador. You are listening to Labrador Morning on CBC Radio 1, 95.1 in Nain. Thank you.
FASD Newfoundland and Labrador is getting new funding to address fetal alcohol spectrum disorder awareness and train those working in the justice system to better understand those affected by the disorder. Catherine Dunbar-Windsor is the Executive Director of FASD-NL. Labrador Morning's acting producer Todd O'Brien began by asking her about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Yeah, FASD is a lifelong disability. It impacts both the brain and the body of anybody who might have been exposed to alcohol in the womb, so during the pregnancy. And so each person who has FASD may be impacted differently and may require different types of supports to help them succeed throughout different aspects of their lives and throughout the lifespan as well.
In terms of how it affects a person, maybe you can explain a bit of that?
Sure. FASD can be quite varied in how it impacts individuals. It's a neurodevelopmental disability, which impacts, for some people, their behavior, their abilities with learning, sometimes their social interactions with other people. And so it's really how the effects of those impacts play out that can further disadvantage people. So, for example, behaviors happening in a classroom setting that aren't addressed or understood can result in a kind of a harsher approach to, say, a child if the people involved don't realize that FASD may be part of the picture for that person.
And how prevalent is FASD in this province and specifically here in Labrador? Yeah,
so in terms of the Canadian estimates for prevalence in the general population are about 4%. And that makes FASD more common than autism, than cerebral palsy, and then Down syndrome. In terms of in Newfoundland and Labrador, we haven't teased out between Labrador and the island of Newfoundland, but we'd be looking at over 20,000 people within the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And of course, Labrador has the advantage of having the multidisciplinary diagnostic clinic at the Labrador with the Labrador Mental Health Health Authority, which of course other parts of the province don't necessarily have the ability to access.
All right. Well, there's some new funding. Can you just tell us what it's for?
Yeah, so the new funding is thanks to the Government of Canada, specifically the Public Health Agency of Canada, who is the file holder for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder in the country. And it's really for a 3-year prevention and awareness campaign, as well as a justice training for justice professionals around FASD, some collaborative action building and bringing networks together across the 4 Atlantic provinces. All of the deliverables in this campaign are going to be translated into both, French and Mi'kmaq and Inuktitut and Inuiaman and various Indigenous languages that are spoken across the 4 provinces. And we're really looking to roll out the first large-scale prevention and awareness campaign through social media ads, through targeted resources and infographics, and also through radio campaigns. It's never happened here in the Atlantic provinces, so we're quite excited about it.
And what I found interesting as well is you're aiming at policing, corrections and parole officers, lawyers, judges, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, that's about a justice training that's sort of targeted for how justice professionals might be able to better understand and support individuals or clients that have FASD that are involved in the justice system. And part of the reason behind that is because we know there are higher prevalence estimates for individuals in the justice system. So I mentioned 4% in the general Canadian population earlier, but the prevalence for justice populations with FASD ranges between 11 and 23%, depending on the research and the age of the individuals. So really we're looking at much higher prevalence within the justice population. So this is a very kind of pertinent and important topic that we hope that justice professionals will be able to benefit from and learn more about.
And how will you be reaching out to people of Labrador?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have our board of directors. We have several representatives from Labrador. So we have the FASD coordinators for the Nunatsi government that are part of our board, and also members from the Innu Round Table and from the Labrador Grenfell Health FASD diagnostic team. So we maintain strong connections with a lot of the FASD work that's already happening in Labrador. And so part of what we'll be doing is asking these networks to send around this information, to circulate this information, to share it, to give us feedback when we are seeking that, and to really help get the word out to the general public, to targeted communities, and when I say targeted communities, I mean girls and women, families that might be planning to have babies or maybe are trying not to have a pregnancy, any of those groups at all. And as we discussed earlier, justice populations as well.
Okay, well, listen, Catherine, thanks for telling us all about this.
Thank you so much. If folks are interested in learning more, they can definitely check out our website. It's www.fasdnl.ca, and we're on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FASDNL as well.
Catherine Dunbar-Windsor is the Executive Director of FASDNL, and she was speaking there with Labrador Morning's acting producer, Todd O'Brien.
Hi, I'm Jackson. You're listening to Labrador Morning
on CBC Radio 1 on 93.9 FM in Cartwright.
Have a good day.
It sounds biblical. Debbie and Brad Keats have been dealing with a flooded basement for the past 40 days. They are at wit's end. We spoke with them in May, but the problem persists. Yesterday, at a town council meeting in Happy Valley Goose Bay, they were allowed to tell their story to council. And what a nightmare.
So, for some of you that don't know me, my name is Debbie Keats, and I'm speaking here today about my story about 18 Rendell Crescent, the flood situation. We're at day 40. So our lives turned upside down when we discovered a flood in our basement on Thursday, May 13th, 2021. And I just want to explain to people, it's not just a little flood, it's not coming in from the sides of the wall, it's not coming in from a window. My entire basement is flooded from inside, corners, flooring, ground up. So I want you to know that. It comes from in every corner. When we seen this, we called the town right away because we didn't know if we were dealing with a plumbing issue, what have you. We were oblivious. My daughter discovered it when she went downstairs to start her studies of university. So she yelled out to us, said, "Mom, the place is flooded out." So we called the town right away. Mr. Beresford and Miss Noble arrived on site. They confirmed that it was not indeed any plumbing or whatever issue. There was no chlorine in the water. They determined that it had to be groundwater. So we were like, okay, next step. We called the Anthony's Insurance, our house provider, immediately. Shockingly, learned that we would not be insured for groundwater. So this was on our tab because it's groundwater, it's the rising, they have a clause in their insurance policy, any rising of the water table, any of that, it's definitely not their responsibility. So they declined us immediately. So then we were at a loss. This is when we were, so frustrated. My husband was out digging holes. We bought pumps. We were trying to, get the house under control of pumping. On May 13th, we had to actually do a complete demolition of our 1,500 square foot basement, which we totally just renovated. 2 bedrooms down there, a living space, everything. Basement, the bathroom tore up. My husband was down there, nothing worse than listening to him with saws, hammers, ripping up flooring, going to the dump repeatedly. This was going on for days and days, and the water continued to pour in. We actually had to put in a sump. We had 2 other pumps going, which we still do. All this have been very heartbreaking. So we've worked so hard for our house, and everything we do, we try to upkeep, we try to maintain our house. So over the last 40 days, we've had engineers come in, we've had politicians, MHAs, we've talked to so many people, we've had contractors, we've had concrete experts come in. We heard the same story over and over and over. They came in, they were shocked at the destruction and devastation that they seen in our house. They said, there's nothing that we can do to help you to resolve this issue. It is a town issue. It is a drainage problem. It is nothing could happen until the water stops pouring in your house. Nothing. So what do we do now? Where do we go? We're just at a loss. You don't understand. My main purpose here today is for some action. We need action. We're alone. Nobody is helping us. We're at day 40, water still pouring in our house. We can't leave our house. We can't put a dime into our house until something happens with the flooding. The issue continues, and to be honest with you, we thought that this issue was being resolved, but it's not. We thought it was slowing down. 2 days ago, we got out of the bed, all we can hear is splash, 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 which made us actually want to throw up. The water is continuously coming in again because it's raining. The rain is causing and coming back into our house. I am not the only one that's going through this. There's other people going through this. I've been reached out to by many people that have the same issue. There's people that have been going through this for 3 years. They told me their horror story. I can't believe that they've had flooding in their home for 3 years and nothing done. 3 years, like why? How is this continuing to happen? How come this problem is not being fixed? Now I am the first to be hit on Rendell Crescent. I understand that. It's because we have a 9-foot basement. There's not a lot of basements on our street, and a lot of them only have a very short basement. We have a 9-foot basement, 6 under, 3 above. This is the reason why that we are hit so fast. We're so sick of it. I've inquired with the town. I've not got any calls back. I've sent emails, no response. CBC has reached out to you guys. Telegram has reached out to you guys, no response. I keep getting these emails or messages from some town members, council members, says, oh, has the water stopped? Is there anything changed? We have an expert coming in, and we're hoping to get that resolved, getting some information. So, my question to you all, where is the expert? Number 1. Number 2, is there a report? Number 3, what is the next steps? We can't continue to live like this. This is our lives. It's ruined. We can't leave our house. We're supposed to go on vacation on Friday. I can't go unless I have somebody at my house manning pumps for 24/7. And I've been off work for since this happened. I haven't returned to work. Too stressed out, too sick, emotionally, physically, all of the above, exhausted. So, same with my husband. We want resolution. We want action. We want our homes restored. We want the water to stop. That's all we're asking. My house sounds like the Bond. Like, seriously. I have pumps going. I have industrial fans. I have industrial dehumidifiers. My heat bill has tripled. I got my heat bill tripled. And then I have a property tax sitting here waiting to be paid that I can't even come face down here. But I'm only going to suffer from that if I don't pay it, because I'll have to pay the interest. I just got a new tax bill saying that my house is worth $500,000. Right now, it's worth $0. Nothing. It's not sellable. We can't do anything with it. I work from home. I can't even work. I'm used up all my leave to, attend to our house and our house responsibilities. Like I said, we can no longer live like this. This is abnormal. Why are you guys not helping us? We pay outrageous tax bills. We pay all of our mortgages. We want to walk away. There's 3 of us that want to throw the key in and walk away and let the banks take our houses because we can't do nothing with our house. It's ruined at this stage. Someone has to be accountable. I truly believe that this falls back on the town's responsibility. Everybody that I consulted with says the same. Professionals, lawyers. I'm telling you, people say it's because we do not have a proper drainage system in place. And I just want to plead to you guys, help us. Stop the water. Try to put yourself in our shoes. If this was your house, what would you be doing? Right now, try to put yourself in my shoes. But guess what? You'd have to put on rubbers, because that's what I wear in my house right now, rubbers. And we're pleading for help. You need to take some action. That's it. I mean, I'm not here to cause problems. I want our problem to be resolved. You don't understand how this has impacted all of our lives. I'm not alone here. I have 8 to 10 people that reached out to me that are willing to come here and speak to you guys. We're requesting an emergency meeting with all of you guys present to sit down to give us a plan of action. We need it now, not tomorrow. I'm on day 40 of my house drowning. I need help now.
And that's Debbie Keats, a homeowner on Rendell Crescent, telling the Happy Valley Goose Bay Town Council about flooding in the basement of her home. Well, council responded. First, we'll hear Mayor Wally Anderson, followed by town engineer Randy Dillon.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. And I can tell you, it's easy for other people to point fingers at the town. I know full well when my basement was flooded up in MOT of all places, when the town sewer backed up, and everyone pointed fingers, but we understand the problem, and we are working to solve the problem. We've gone out, we've had to raise a lot of money, we've had to go to the province, and Randy, the town has asked our people to put a plan in place to bring in people who know and tell us what needs to be done so we can put in adequate draining. Can you update council, and far more important, can you update Mrs. Keats and those who are listening in as to where the plan is that council wants to implement?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I received a report today and from the consultant CVCL. They've done their desktop study. They presented a number of pieces of data that I have to go over in more detail. They also have submitted plans issued for review, and I also have to go through them now over the next day or so. And they've advised me that they can have a tender package ready by the end of next week for approval by the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. So we are actively proceeding with trying to get these drainage issues under control, and I certainly sympathise with Ms. Keats, because and even even though that area is bad, there are also other areas in town that we also have that also exist within the community. So it's a number of areas in the community that we're looking at, and as she alluded to too, in her own area there are a number of people. So it's certainly this year has certainly been a challenge for many people.
I'm going to start right again for clarification, not so much for council, but for Mrs. Keys and for those who are listening in, that the department is saying that they can have a tender package ready to begin the work, you say next week?
Yes, Mayor, by the end of next week.
Just explain again what that piece of work, that
Can you speak up, Randy, because we could barely hear you?
That value of that work is approximately $400,000. So that's cost shared funds from the department's capital works program. So the town has committed, a rather large amount of funds to have this particular area up around the canal address drainage issues in that particular area. And as well, we'll be looking into other areas within the town where we can make improvements. And I know there are a number of other areas for which drainage improvements are required, and in particular, as Ms. Keats notes, down around Rendell Street is something that we have to have. We are actually looking into a more detailed solution for that particular area. So.
And what about the person that's will be hired to come in here, who is an expert on this sort of thing?
Hydrologist.
The hydrogeologist, we've received the first stage of his report. They recommend, depending upon the results of the first stage of his report, there are two stages. So I'll go through this and I'll discuss that with the hydrogeologist. And it appears like on first, I had a glance through just before the meeting here, that we will move on to stage 2 of the report to get some more detailed analysis and some boreholes and some more detailed hydrogeological data that we can move on with a solution to that particular area.
Okay, so in a nutshell, when do you think we can have something concrete in place where we can feel safe in saying to the people who've gone through the problems this year that we've gone out here, this is what we've done, and we're confident that this new drainage that we have will alleviate the problem in years to come?
Well, I'll have a discussion with the hydrogeologists, and I'm sure that that they'll start working on this right away. They're committed to it now. They've done the first stage, and hopefully the drainage canal in the area that might provide some kind of alleviation to that particular area, depending upon the drainage patterns. So I'm not sure which way the drainage. I think the drainage pattern in that area is going east. So I'm not sure if that drainage canal would have a direct effect on Rendell Street. It I guess remains to be seen, but we certainly have that work done within the next month. We got tender documents will be ready at the end of next week, but we'll have to wait for the hydrogeologist next stage of his report to determine where to he thinks we should proceed.
Happy Valley Goose Bay Town Engineer Randy Dillon and Mayor Wally Anderson speaking to actions being taken to combat flooding in parts of town. Now, flooding appears to be a long-standing problem in areas. What do you think of what you just heard? Are you a homeowner who is experiencing flooding as well? $500,000 assessment on the Keats home in Rendell Crescent. A lot of money there on the line. You can certainly give us a call. The number is 1-888-699-8255. You can also email labradormorning@cbc.ca, or you can send us a message on Facebook.
Hi, I'm Danny Ricketts from Churchill Falls Library. You're listening to Labrador Morning on CBC Radio 1, 91.1 FM in Churchill Falls.
A new president of the National Inuit Youth Council has recently been selected. Brian Pottle, who grew up on the North Coast, will start his 2-year term. Pottle, who has lived in St. John since graduating from MUN, is an electrical engineer by day, but says he has always had big aspirations to help his community in a different way. The 29-year-old spoke to the CBC's Meg Roberts.
So when did you decide to get involved in this sort of work?
So this was a realization that I had pretty kind of early in my adulthood. I was still doing my undergraduate degree at Memorial University when I had an opportunity to partake in the Aboriginal Ambassador Program, it was then called, in partnership with Memorial University, to deliver technology-based programming, kind of extolling the virtues of post-secondary, but in particular in this case, the fields of engineering and engineering technology to youth located in remote places in Labrador. And so since then, I've kind of realized that I have this kind of drive, this sort of yearning to give back to the community that I kind of originate from, and make sure that the opportunities that I wish I had when I was growing up, today's youth have through the continuation of these kind of technology programs, or just speaking at different events in Labrador as well.
What was your reaction when you first found out?
Oh my God, I was like through the moon. I couldn't believe it. You know, I feel I have a lot to say for the betterment of Inuit youth, and I feel I can say it pretty okay. And so being in a position where now I kind of am able to, in a kind of meaningful way, speak to the issues that Inuit youth face across Canada today was exhilarating. I'm so excited to see what myself and my council can accomplish in the next 2 years.
And what are some of your priorities?
So my biggest priority, it's one that is very commonplace, I think, for anybody from an Inuit community. So unfortunately, suicide has touched the lives of, I don't think actually anybody from a community hasn't been affected by suicide. Personally, I've lost my brother to suicide when I was still in my undergrad, and burying him was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in my life. And I aim to promote life when it comes to Inuit youth. Basically, my message is simple, that there's so many options in life that suicide need never be one. Because, just because they're isolated, and opportunities are not obviously the same as they would be in a major center like, say, St. John's here, but there are opportunities, and that's kind of why I did these technology programs, because I wanted to show them hands-on that the opportunities are there, and not only that, but that they can do them also. Hopefully, we get the ball rolling soon. I'm still kind of, when it comes to, I guess, the onboarding process and getting familiar with the work that the National Inuit Youth Council is already undertaking, I'm still kind of onboarding. It's only become official as of Friday, so still a lot of learning left on my end.
The National Inuit Youth Council, it covers a lot of geography across Canada. So what's it kind of like presenting the National Inuit Youth Council, being from Labrador?
So it's, obviously each region has their kind of idiosyncratic challenges, and being in Labrador, where the language prevalence is not as strong as it is in the more northerly regions of the Inuit areas. It is interesting being a non-Inuktitut speaker at the table, but mostly I'm just envious. They still have such strong connection to the language. I think that when it comes to being able to advocate in a kind of I guess level-voiced way, I don't think that would be impactful. I mostly just look at it as an opportunity to expand my skill set. I'm open to learning more of the language, and especially in, say, any of the territories where the language prevalence is so much stronger. I would definitely look forward to learning what I can as well.
And that was Brian Pottle. He has recently been selected as the president of the National Inuit Youth Council. Well, yesterday was the last day of school for students at the Shehashi Innu School, but that wasn't the only reason people in the community were celebrating. The school has seen a steady increase of graduates since opening in 2009, and this year was no exception. Labrador Morning's Reagan Burton went to Shehashi to attend the end-of-the-year award ceremony and motorcade for the graduating class. While there, she spoke with Gennady Davis, the CEO of the Mamu Jishkudama Shudo.
Don't give up on your dreams. Always remember it. Right now, these days, education is our new way of life. Thank you.
This year we had 24 students graduating from Shehashi Innu School. I believe this is the highest graduating class we've had since we opened our schools. It's a huge success when we talk about the number of graduates in our school. I know there's quite a few students that have applied and have already been accepted to a number of universities and colleges. I know there's a few that are leaving this fall to go to Memorial University, and some to college programs, and some to Goose Bay College of the North Atlantic.
It must be a really exciting time for the community to see so many young people wanting to further their education and follow that path. How is the community feeling about all of this?
I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback from parents, and really happy to see their children, and hearing from leadership in both communities, commending the students. I mean, this is a really good positive in the right step for our schools, and seeing the kids graduating and applying to university programs and college programs. It's a positive feedback from the community and the leadership.
And this must be an extra special year for you because your daughter is part of that graduating class and she's heading off to university in the fall. So how are you feeling as a mother?
I'm really excited. I'm really happy for my daughter. I mean, she's worked so hard, and but I'm a little bit I guess sad in a way, overwhelmed and happy. Because she's my last baby. She's my last out of my 4 children to graduate, and really happy that she's decided to pursue post-secondary education. And I'm excited, and also at the same time a bit sad because she'll be going off, and it's good for her though.
Have there been any changes in programming or the way that things have been happening at the school to promote and encourage graduates to go and further their education and attend post-secondary?
I think just having the children seeing students graduating more, and I think staying with the program, staying with the school, staying in high school, having the community celebrate, and leadership being involved. I think the young students seeing their brothers and sisters graduate, and community and the school and the leadership acknowledging the students, I think is making a huge impact on students staying in school and pursuing their high school. So I think that's making a huge difference.
Hi, I'm Shia Davis.
Hi, I'm Justin Panasha.
It is your grad day today. How are you feeling, Justin?
Oh, I'm feeling great.
How about you, Shia?
I'm feeling really good. I'm also a tad bit nervous.
Tell me about what you've done so far today to celebrate.
Well, this morning I had to wake up really early because I had to get my hair done. And after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. I got to school. We had our graduation ceremony. It was really nice. I cried a little bit. But then we came over to my aunt's house, and we're having another separate celebration party with all of our family.
How about you, Justin? Are you feeling a little emotional today as well?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What are your plans this fall, Justin?
I was going to do Powerline, but I'm on a wait list right now, so gotta wait.
I'm heading to Acadia at the beginning of this fall, so it's going to be very nerve-wracking, but I'm also very excited. I enrolled in the Bachelor of English Language Arts, and that's just because I love to write. Like, writing is one of my favorite things to do, so I'm really excited to major in that.
And Powerline technician, does that mean you want to stay here in Labrador and work at home?
Oh, yeah. Can't leave the family. Can't.
And what about you, Shia? Have you thought about what you might want to do once you finish your degree?
Not quite. I'm kind of just taking every day as it comes. I'm really excited to major in the English Language Arts program, but I'm not quite sure what comes afterwards.
How's your family feeling today in your community? What are people saying to you about the big day?
Oh, they're just telling me congratulations, hugs left and right. Never felt this before. It's crazy.
How about you, Shia?
I think everyone's feeling a little bit emotional today. I shed a few tears. All of my family, they were all like... they were also all very emotional, but who can blame them? This has been the past 13 years of our lives, so...
I think we all, as parents, need to really push our children to continue going to school and encourage our children to stay in school. You know, sometimes, you know, there's other issues in homes or in families that makes it harder for kids. But I think having parents and the community leadership and even the teachers encouraging our students to keep going and making our school a positive place to come and be, inviting for students and parents, having everybody feel welcomed and just, having role models. I think by having more students in our school and having more graduates in our school, I think this gives other students the incentive to keep going.
Hi, my name is Greg Quilty. I'm the principal of Shahjeet Inu School. It's been a very successful year. The number of students graduating has increased. The number of students graduating that started with that class in kindergarten has certainly increased, and the number of students going to post-secondary has grown as well. So it has been a successful year, and a lot of parents were pleased to see the high numbers. A lot of these, students I taught myself in previous years, so I know their parents, know their grandparents, family members. I may have taught some of their siblings, brothers and sisters. So, and some of them are graduated since. So, it was very pleasing to hear that. People were happy to see it. There was no surprise, which is a good thing. It shows that, education is improving in the community. People weren't surprised to see that there was more students graduating, especially in a COVID year. People were sticking it out, and a lot of that is due to, the tireless hours put in by our teachers here. They put in the extra effort to make sure the students know they're cared about and that they have a place in our school and that their education is the first and foremost. So, hats off to the high school teachers, because some kids come to school just to see their teacher in the day, but when if that gets them through the door, then we got them for the rest of the day.
I know my daughter really enjoyed going to school because she really liked her teachers. And I've said this before. I've said it to teachers that, my daughter said to me, this was a couple of years back, she said to me, and it stayed with me when I heard her say this, she said, "Mom, my teachers at school are not just teachers, they're my friends. And it's not about business. They're friends." And I really, I still remember that when she said that. She was quite young, encouraging our children and encouraging students to keep attending, because we need more students to stay in school, to go off and get their post-secondary so that they can come back and pursue their opportunities here in the community.
And that is sounds from a motorcade for the graduating class of Shahjeet yesterday. The last voice you heard there was Gennady Davis. She's CEO of the Mamu Jishkudama Shudo. Well, on National Indigenous Peoples Day, Monday, the Nunatsiavut Community Council released an online story map with photos, videos, and interactive maps of Nunatsiavut communities. To tell us more about that project, we're joined on the line by Nunatsiavut President Todd Russell. Good morning.
Good morning, Janice.
Now, the website for this map reads, "Connect with our lands, waters, ice, and people." How does that map help people have that connection?
Well, I think if you go on, this is an online platform, a digital platform. It has many, many sections, and you rightfully read out the sort of the introduction to it. It is a site that you can go to that does explore us as a people, our land, our places, our connection to our land and places. It highlights our people through the generations. It talks about significant events and occurrences in our history. Things like the British Inuit Treaty of 1765, the Spanish flu, residential schools. So it is a beautiful, beautiful presentation and design that shares a tremendous amount of information about Nunatsiavut Inuit, about Nunatsiavut, and what's important to us, our history and culture. It really does, I think, illustrate the great pride and connection that people have.
Why did Nunavut want to create this map, President Russell?
Well, it is part of an ongoing series of, I would say, products or information in various ways that we are presenting. We've started a program called Ikupiatsik, which is in Inuktitut, and it means to share. So we're sharing this. We're sharing our this story map. And just a few days ago we shared a coloring book that is especially done by Inuk artists, and it is done with Inuktitut in it. So these are things that we're producing to share with others and ourselves. And so it is a part of that particular program and of events. And Janice, it is an ongoing piece of work that we have been involved in Nunavut now for some decades, which is telling our story, telling as much of our story as we can. It is important for our people to know their own history, to know their own place and their part in it. So important. For instance, we talked about this before, when it comes to education and what gets taught in schools. So it's very much a part of the ongoing work of what we're doing, but it comes at a beautiful time when it has such practical application as well, when it can be utilized by our people, by people from outside who want to learn. So this is part of the work that we're doing, Janice, and it's affirming work. It's work that we take a lot of pride in. It's about us and about our place and what we want to share with the rest of the world.
How did you go about making the story map?
Well, much of the information that's in there was compiled from them days records, from research that had been conducted by and with Nunatuhabut in the past. We went through provincial archives. So a lot of this information that people are seeing throughout this story map, and it's very interactive, is information that we are now compiling in this way. If people go to the site, it's fantastic. You can go and check on a place, and when you check on a place, it tells you all kinds of information. Or if you check on a face, or you check on a certain section, it just opens up more and more information and places to go to explore and to understand and to learn about us and our history and our culture. And it's just a fascinating array of information, and I would commend anybody who's listening to go to our site and explore it.
President Russell, there's also a lot of wonderful photos that are on the map. Where did you get your hands on all those?
A lot of them from provincial archives, from records that we have had, research that has been done in the past. As I've said, much came from them days. You will see some beautiful sections there, as you say, the beautiful faces of our people, of our knowledge holders, elders and youth. And then there's this section, Janice, and so many beautiful pictures about our land and water and ice and our places, and how that really connects us to where we're from and have always been from, and our sense of belonging to this place, and what we have to be thankful for, that we're still here, still persevering, that we're resilient people, and this is what this site also does. It demonstrates the strength of our people through many generations, and that connection. And there's one section that I just have to hold out, Janice. It's around the dog team, and how important dog teams were, and how much they were a part of the family and a part of the hunting and the kinship networks, and how people moved and connected to one another and the land. So again, just a phenomenal a phenomenal resource in so many ways.
President Russell, you mentioned the program there that also involves the coloring book and how you are putting emphasis on having members of Nunatsiavut understand who they are, but also for other people to understand you as well. Why is it important for you to take a stance of sorts and try to identify yourselves as members of Nunatsiavut?
Well, I think, it's always important that we reinforce who we are, to assert where we come from, our culture, our history for so long. And I think that this story map also tells the story that much of our area, all of our area, and our people have been influenced by colonization over many generations. And the story map brings this out. So, this is also a part of our reclamation, of our resurgence, of our reaffirmation as an Indigenous people in our places, in our homes. And that is so, so important, that our story is told, and it's told accurately and honestly, and it is a true reflection of who we are and where we come from and what we're about. And there's a lot of beauty and strength and resilience in that, as I have said, and that is so, so important for young people. So important for young people, and also for our older people, so that they are validated and understood and appreciated for who they are and where they come from, and their contributions to this place and to their home. So all of these things come out and are so important. Yes, for people within Nunatsiavut, and particularly Nunatsiavut Inuit, but also so important for allies, for those who want to learn more about us and the great contributions that what we are doing can make to reconciliation and Indigenous justice, not just here in Labrador, but across the country. And so it is a marvelous part of our story in the way it's presented, and there's more to come. There's going to be much more to come like this. And so it's, again, I would just commend people to go there to look at this, to learn.
And is it accessible through your website?
Absolutely. Absolutely accessible through our website at www.nunatsiavut.ca. And we'd appreciate, and it's a dynamic site in the sense that, it's there, but it can grow. Things can be added. Things can be enhanced. People might have additional information that they want to share, or additional photos that they might want to share. So, this platform allows us also to be reflective of life itself, in the sense that it is dynamic, it is changing, it is evolving, and so this is a wonderful aspect of this particular platform as well.
Well, thank you so much for telling us about it this morning.
Thank you, Janice, and it's a pleasure to share it.
And that is Todd Russell, and he is the president of Nunatsiavut.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.